All right, I think we're good to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Happy Monday. My name is Nick Marro. I'm here with Jayhawk. We got the two Nicks tonight to help you break down the NBA DFS slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. A few things to talk about, just a little bit of nuance here. The slate doesn't lock until 8 p.m. Usually we'd wait to do the show, but I think Brian, I don't know if anyone else is with him, but we got a pretty good game tonight for Monday Night Football. So they're going to jump on and do a stream right at 7. So yeah, we'll probably wrap this around 6:30. It'll be a little bit of a break, and you guys will get an NFL show as well. So tons of content coming out from us today for free. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. But yeah, nice 5 game slate tonight. Perfect size in my opinion. We got a lot of injury news already. A little bit we're still waiting on. But yeah, Jayhawk, how you feeling about this one coming in?
Yeah, man. Obviously, the one thing we can look forward to on a Monday is basketball and football tonight. So love that. Nice little 5 game slate on the cards here. A decent amount of injury news. We'll cover them, but yeah, definitely a fun slate here for a 5 game here.
Yeah, man, I like it. Let's shout out some of the guys who've gotten here early. Shouts out Heath, who's always here. Unicorn Love, good evening, all money time indeed. Unicorn, one of our big winners from last year. Jared Allen tonight from Colin. I know we burnt a lot of us. Was it last night or the night before? But tough not to go back there in this matchup. I don't mind it, but we'll talk about every game and every matchup since we only have 5 to get through. And then in that same Cleveland game, Jose, another regular here. Garland or Mitchell. But it's tough. I think it kind of depends on where your builds are taking you. But we'll get into all of that, guys. So, again, feel free to get your questions in. 5 games. We're going to go team by team. And we will go through each team's injury report and then kind of break down what we think we should be doing in terms of rostering those players. But yeah, just keep in mind too, all these games lock at the exact same time at 8 p.m. Eastern. So whether you're looking at DraftKings, FanDuel, one of your sports books, wherever, I'm going by the official NBA injury report order when I'm talking about teams, but you may see these games in different order. But just keep in mind, again, they all lock at the same time. We'll have all the starting lineups. So not too much to really get into in terms of waiting or late swapping, anything like that. So first game on the slate, we have my Nets here taking on the Pelicans. Bojan Bogdanovic is still out. Finney Smith is questionable. That is actually significant. Trenton Watford's banged up. Dayron Sharp's still not with the team, and a couple G Leaguers are listed out as well. So yeah, Finney Smith is questionable. Ben Simmons is back. But the big thing is Nick Claxton starting to play regular minutes. We have him projected for 30. We saw him play it back to back. He's been super effective. And for whatever reason, they really haven't moved his price at all. He's still just 5,700 on both sites. A little bit surprised he's not more popular. I know we're going to talk about Sengun, today's cover boy, is one of the best plays on the entire slate. But on DK, where you could play two centers, or you don't want to pay up for Sengun, maybe get more of that Houston lineup. Kind of hope he has an off night. Maybe you can pivot to Claxton. Other Nets here, obviously not the best matchup. We're seeing Simmons get some love. 4,800 on DK does feel a little bit cheap. We have him for 24 minutes, though. I'd feel better about that if Finney Smith is out. The two cams look good. I mean, Tom is one of the higher ceilings on the slate, but tough to trust. Johnson, probably one of the higher floors, even though he is scoring dependent. And then Schroeder continues to be under-owned, even though he is a little bit expensive here. But how you feeling about the Nets tonight, man? I mean, you know me, I can talk about them all day. I really like Claxton. I know it's tough to get away from Sengun, but I do think he's one of the better pivots at center.
Yeah, man. Always love covering the Nets here when we're both on stream, especially for you. But let's start out with Clarkson. I agree. I think he's probably the best play overall here. 5,700 on both sides here. I think he makes a ton of sense. And then I actually do like Ben Simmons a decent amount, not a crazy amount, but I'll probably be at least a couple percent over 12% in my 20 max. So yeah, I like both those top two, Clarkson and Simmons. And good shout out. If Finney Smith were to sit, I think we should give a minor bump here to Ben Simmons as well.
Yeah, so Jordy Fernandez, the Nets coach, says he doesn't really want to start Simmons next to Claxton, but that doesn't mean they both can't get their minutes. And looking at the game logs, I mean, Simmons has been hitting value for at least his price over on DK. The one issue is that he's PG only now, even though he's playing a lot of minutes at the 5. Simmons is one of these players every single day. I think the sites are going to list him differently. I'm curious what he's at on FanDuel. We got power forward and point guard eligibility. So yeah, pretty easy to get to over there. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I just think the minutes are a little bit safer if Finney Smith is out. But at the same time, I mean, I'd be fine playing him at that price, especially on DK at relatively low ownership. Again, I mean, otherwise the team is healthy. I think you could mix in Schroeder and Cam, but we're going to talk about a lot of value guards on the slate, particularly on the other side of this one. We talk about the Pelicans here. So breaking down their injury report, I mean, we got a lot more to deal with. No Jordan Hawkins, no Herbert Jones, no CJ McCollum, no Zion Williamson, no DeJounte Murray. So a good chunk of their entire payroll is out again tonight. They are getting Trey Murphy back from a hamstring injury, so that's definitely notable. Key rotational piece. We've seen him start a lot of the time last season. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious where we should be going here in terms of, I don't know, low risk, smaller field contest. Brandon Ingram looks excellent, going to demand a lot of usage here. Jose Alvarado's been playing great basketball. As his price continues to climb, I'm fine getting there. Brandon Boston's been great. The price is up on him, though, and we do want to keep in mind that with Murphy back, maybe that cuts into him a little bit. We have Murphy at 24 minutes. I think that's a fair projection, but he's a guy historically who has been able to go over 30. So I don't know if he was in the G League ramping up like Vassell was before he was with the Spurs, or Kenrich, who's with OKC now. But some of these guys can hit the ground running and play the regular run. I don't know for Boston, or I don't know for Murphy if that's the case. Still fine getting to some Brandon Boston, though. Robinson Earl's interesting. Again, this front court is very thin right now. I don't know. I don't think I'm getting down to him. But yeah, obviously, I think we both have to agree with like Alvarado and Ingram here. But let me ask you, are you interested in Boston or any of the other Pelicans?
Yeah, so typically I've been on Boston the past couple of slates. Now with the return of Trey Murphy, I think Boston's probably pretty overpriced here for his production now. So I'll probably be lower on Boston than the 15% on DraftKings. And then you mentioned it. I think Alvarado and Ingram both look pretty good here at their prices. I will say Alvarado has been an absolute demon on the defensive end per usual. So I do like him the most out of him and Ingram, but I think Ingram here as well. Good matchup. Good bounce back spot here for Ingram. So I like him as well at 25%. So yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it is relatively straightforward. I think you play Ingram and Alvarado, and most of your lineups feel good about it. I mean, you could even get over the field on a 5 game slate. I thought they'd be even more popular here, if we're being honest. And then I'm fine mixing in some Brandon Boston. They do need someone else to take shots. I think Murphy's going to see a few. Not enough for me to want to pay more for Murphy than we're paying for Boston, though. So
Yeah.
keep an eye on the starting lineup. I mean, could see Green in there. I mean, Missy's been getting starts, not necessarily someone I'm interested in. Robinson Earl could start at the 4 or the 5. The Nets have Claxton in, but they're kind of small otherwise. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But yeah, man, I mean, Ingram and Alvarado definitely kind of core plays on both sites. Let's check out chat, see where we're at right now. Cheesy, is Jalen Smith too cute today? We're about to get to Houston, and we'll kind of break that down. I don't think so, though. Or do you mean Jalen Green? I think you're mixing up two. Oh no, no. I'm mixing up names. We got Jalen Green and Jabari Smith on the Rockets, who I've been digging into deep, and then Jalen Smith is backing up Vooch on the Bulls. For me, it's probably too cute, but we'll talk about that in a moment when we get there. Colin, Reed Shepard, top value play. I like Kevin Porter, Zeus forced off the floor. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We're going to have to talk about what we think is going to happen with the Clippers. I mean, in the past, we have seen Zoo kind of run off the floor, but now that it's just Harden there, he's very, very important for that offense. So I don't know that he's going to see less minutes, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Colin saying Claxton very sneaky, totally agree at that ownership. Jose saying no real center for the Thunder. We think Zubac cheats tonight. And then Rob G saying how many minutes for Joval. I'll check the Joval minutes first. But yeah, that whole Zubac conversation, it's a big one. So when we get to that game, we'll definitely be spending plenty of time on it, guys. Don't worry about that. We have Joval for 20 minutes, which I think is reasonable. Again, at his price, I'm not really rushing to get there. They could use his body against Sangoon. But at the same time, it seems like no matter where Joval goes, no one really wants to play. any significant minutes for him. And then Colin, hard for me to get away from Cam Thomas. I mean, probably my favorite player in the league right now as a biased Nets fan. I mean, tonight though, at his price, he's fine at the low ownership. There's just so many good guards and wings that it's kind of tough for me to get there. But let's move into the next game now, man. We got the Cavs and the Bulls here. For the Cavs, really no crazy significant injury news. Max Strus is the only rotational piece that's ruled out. So they're getting a little bit healthier. Then over on the Bulls side, Levine's probable. Jalen Smith, who someone just brought up, is questionable. But let's start with the Cavs, and then I'll kind of recap what I just said on the Bulls. Yeah, so I mean, obviously a great matchup here. I'm guessing this is probably the widest spread on the slate. The Cavs are undefeated. They've been playing excellent basketball. This isn't the widest spread. Houston's a bigger favorite over the Wizards. But at the same time, I mean, the Bulls just haven't been that great, especially defensively. On the road, though, coming off a few competitive games, I think this game stays close enough that we don't have to worry about blowout. Mobley looks good. Mitchell, Allen, Garland, Levert then coming off the bench. I mean, this whole group of five looks solid. I'm thinking we see Okoro continue to start on the wing. He's fine as value, never someone I'm rushing to get to, unless someone like Levert's out. But then Ty Jerome just kind of spiking these random ceilings here and there. Not someone I'm ever heavy on. I did have him in one of my better lineups the other night. That was more just luck than me actually being bullish on him. He just kind of fit the build. But yeah, man, I mean, a lot to talk about, I guess, with Cleveland here. It is maybe the best matchup on the slate. But who stands out to you for these Cavs?
Yeah, first, just want to shout out sarcastically to Dre Allen for nuking my lineups last slate. Just wanted to cover that, but I think let's start with him since I talked about him here. I think at 22%, if everyone's going to flop to Mobley once again, since he had that huge game, I don't hate going back to him here. They're obviously going to need his size with Vooch out there, so I don't hate taking another stab there at 6,900. And then in terms of Mobley, I still think he's solid. I think he's probably going to be safer. So he's probably the safer play between him and Allen. And then in terms of Mitchell and Garland's, I do have a slight preference towards Garland tonight. I think it's the price point thing. Mitchell hasn't been playing the minutes that I typically want him to play. So I do prefer Garland for just a slight 1,000 discount, but I think both those guys firmly in play in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you, man. I think if you're looking for upside, Mitchell probably has the higher ceiling. We've seen it out of him a few times, but Garland spiked that upside too this year. And the thing about Cleveland, as good as they are, they're running these really deep rotations, so there's not many guys getting over 30 minutes. We have Mobley and Mitchell right at 32. Garland's at 31. But yeah, everyone else like 30 or less. So it is tough when you're looking at some of these other teams where guys are playing 35, 36, 38 minutes when we're talking about the Knicks. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Mobley's the safer play. And if the gap in price was a little bit wider, I think I'd be pivoting maybe more to Allen as just like that direct pivot or ownership as well. Like if Allen was single digits and people were really burnt from that last start, I think I'd be getting there more aggressively. But we're seeing just a 7% gap in ownership over on DK. And then on FanDuel, funnily enough, more people are getting to Allen than they are Mobley just for that extra 700. So I like both. I do think Mobley's the better play of the two, but keep an eye on ownership. If Mobley's starting to become much more popular, then that's a great pivot. And I'm with you too, man. I think Garland's just easier to build around, and we we look and we see that he's lower owned and lower priced, so it's just easier to kind of fit him in, make things work. Obviously, Mitchell has upside, but it's not like he's some low owned pivot tonight. It's really Garland and Mobley mostly for me. Fine with Mitchell and Allen. Let me ask you this though, and Levert's been really solid coming off the bench. I know he missed a couple of games, but he's gone over 30 FanDuel points 3 games in a row. He was just shy of that his last DK game, but if you're getting 30 from like a 5K player, usually you feel pretty good about it. I know the minutes make him kind of risky. He's also scoring dependent, but in a matchup like this, I mean, if he's only going to stay 10%, I could definitely see myself coming over on Levert tonight. What are your thoughts on Karras? And if not, is there anyone else from Cleveland you're looking at off the bench?
Yeah, so first of all, I like that shout out there with Levert. He's still, hovering around this 5K price point. And you mentioned it, the Cavs are kind of spreading out the minutes here. So yeah, I think Levert, makes for a very good 10% play. I'll probably be at least 5% more, around 15%. And then for the rest of Cleveland here, Ty Jerome's been a talking point on the streams. It's just with him, it's the volatility and it's the minutes. It's very uncertain. They have Sam Merrill there as well. And I think they also, he's not in the model, but they have another guard. I think he might be a rookie, but they've been playing him as well. So, yeah, it's just tough to get to anyone else here from Cleveland, in my opinion. But what about you? You getting anyone else here?
Yeah, I mean, I really do like Levert. I'm playing, I think I have 20 and the 25 max on FanDuel tonight, like the $2. I could see maybe getting to one or two shares of Jerome just as a pivot. But like you said, I mean, that range of outcomes is ridiculous. Like he could get you single digits or he can get you 20 plus. It's kind of like TJ McConnell has been like when the Pacers are healthy. Like you still get those spike games from time to time. More often than not, you're kind of capped around 20 fantasy points. But at his price on a 5 game slate, I don't think it's crazy. But yeah, I like Okoro. He's a player I'm higher on than pretty much anyone, I think. But with no one out, you can't really play him. Like you need him to kind of absorb usage from somewhere. I don't see it. Merrill, kind of similar situation. Very high ceiling if he gets hot from three, but that's really all he does. So I'm having trouble getting to him. So if anything, yeah, it's Levert here. I'll probably be maybe triple the field on FanDuel, 30-ish%. I can see myself getting to. And then obviously the starters outside of Okoro look good. On the Bulls side of things, Levine is back. He's healthy. Lonzo Ball's out. Pour one out for him. Sonogo is available. Interesting. And Jalen Smith, who someone asked about, is Jalen Smith too cute tonight? Let's start with that. So obviously Vooch has been playing pretty well. Not a good matchup here for centers, which is kind of reflected in the ownership. And yeah, with Sonogo coming back, I don't know that he's going to take many minutes from anyone. But at the same time, he is a center. So I don't know how they feel about Smith and what he's been doing lately. Obviously, from a fantasy perspective, he's been all right. For me, just knowing Sanogo's back, knowing it's a terrible matchup, to answer that question from earlier, yes, it is too cute, in quotes. That's a phrase we like to use a lot. It just means we're kind of digging too deep in the dumpster. For me, I don't think I'm really going to get to any Jalen Smith, but how do you feel about this front court right now?
Yeah, I just think overall, just in the front court here, it's a pretty tough spot for Chicago as a whole. So, I think I'd almost rather play Vooch between the two, but it's so tough here to play either one, man. Chicago's just in a really, really tough spot here.
Yeah, it is a tough spot. And the guards are okay. It's just now that they're healthy. I mean, if we get one of White, Giddy, or AO out, then the other two usually look pretty good. We could kind of put Levine in that group as well. The difference with Levine is we do get that forward eligibility, which is why I think we're seeing some ownership going to him. Still sub 7K. I'm fine with it. Again, I think it's pretty easy to build around him just because of where he's priced. And on DK, you could play him at guard or forward, which is obviously very appealing with those extra utility spots. So I like Levine. I'm not surprised he's popular, though. I don't feel great about it if he's going to continue to rise in ownership. I got to ask you this, though. I don't know if you know. Patrick Williams coming off a huge game. He's been starting, looked really good. Um, I don't know. Has someone been out? Is that why he's spiking these ceilings? Because I'm a little bit confused. I mean, this is a guy. I mean, usually a low usage player, kind of like a Harrison Barnes. He's fine as like a last piece in, but he's been pretty good lately. And I don't know if it's a mirage. We should just overlook it as the price climbs, or if this is someone we should be taking seriously right now.
Yeah, so I've been kind of following that as well. I think it's been kind of just a little bit fluky because Levine was out for a couple games, but
Mhm.
I don't know, man. He's not typically a guy I really want to play unless we get multiple guys out for Chicago. So I'm probably fine fading him once again. If he goes off at sub 5K once again, it is what it is. But it's a tough matchup, and I think it's a little bit fluky. But that's kind of just my take there.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like I said, he's fun as like a last piece Harrison Barnes type, Dylan Brooks type, just a guy that like fills out your lineup in a tough position. But I don't know, just monitor expectations. But yeah, Bulls probably one of the teams we're least interested in. Just keep in mind that's kind of where the field at as well, so you can get some of those guys low owned if you do feel good about them. Next game here, and then I'll jump in the chat and check the questions, guys. So keep those coming. We have the Clippers at the Thunder. Lots to talk about with OKC, but let's start with the Clippers first. Obviously, Kawhi's still out. No PJ Tucker. Mo Bamba's out as well. He hasn't really been with the team. So nothing too significant for the Clippers. Obviously, Harden's been playing really well. Kind of deferring to Powell and Zubac in terms of taking shots, though. He's really kind of been the true point guard. I'm fine getting to him as a pay up. There's not a ton of pay ups on the slate. Norm Powell looks good, scoring dependent, taking a ton of shots. I'm honestly surprised he's not a little bit more popular. I think getting to Powell at low ownership makes some sense. And then we do have to talk about Zoo here. So OKC is going to be without Chet. They're going to be playing smaller if they want to. They are getting Kenrich Williams back, who historically has played some small ball five. Jalen Williams is actually projected to start at center, and that's not the Jaylin Williams, who is a true center. It's the wing, Jalen Williams. And yeah, if that's the case, obviously they're running small. So in the past, I mean, we'd see the situation, we'd say, oh, maybe Lou's going to go to PJ Tucker here, who's not with the team, or maybe a Nicholas Batum, someone like that. But with this team no longer having Paul George or Kawhi, it almost feels like they need that offense from Zoo. So I don't think he gets run off the floor. We're projecting him for 34 minutes. He's been consistently hitting that number. I think you just go back to him here, and I think he's going to play his normal run because they need him to. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty comfortable getting to Zubac here, even though it's kind of a weird matchup. It's like it should be good because OKC's small without Chet, but at the same time, if they start running up and down the floor with the small group, it could get ugly for him. But what's your take on Zubac here? Because I think it's a good talking point, especially at such low ownership.
Yeah, so Zubac, he's been crushing the past few slates. Definitely interesting talking point. Especially if, like you mentioned, if OKC does run Jalen at the five, Zubac should eat in the minutes he does play. Yeah, but you mentioned that the one concern is how fast do they play. I don't know. I'm not taking a huge stand here. I'll probably be around the field. I think it's too risky to take a huge stand when the range of outcomes is super high here with this game. So if you want to get like double the field, I think it's fine. But at least for me, I'm probably not going to go too crazy with Zubac. But I think in the minutes he does play, he should have a really good game. So if he plays 34, he should crush at 8% at 8K. So yeah, like that call.
Yeah, man. And I was like going through his game logs, trying to find any matchups with small teams. I mean, Golden State, one of the smaller front courts, he actually had his best game of the year. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's not like they took him off the floor. He took 19 shot, or he was 10 for 19 from the field that game. Took a ton of shots. So heavily involved in the offense. Maybe we see something similar from him tonight. So I would just say, like, if you're playing a ton of lineups, obviously Sengun's kind of our number one center, but probably maybe pivot a little bit of that to Zoo. I think he's fine as a pivot, and I wouldn't worry about him getting run off the floor. I've heard a few other people talking about that today. It just doesn't seem like a thing this season. They need him on offense. All right. So yeah, what's your take? I guess on the rest of these Clippers. I'm fine getting to some Harden, Powell. I don't know. Not crazy about Porter or Jones Jr., but they're cheap enough to maybe mix in. Um, but yeah, I like Zoo here. I'll kind of take that stand, but fine with Harden or Powell. But anything else from the Clippers standing out to you?
Yeah, so all these guys I think are surely tournament plays here. If I had to pick one besides Zubac, probably would be Norman Powell here at 2%. I just really like the way he's been playing, man.
Yeah.
He's been doing everything for the Clippers, so they're probably going to need his scoring once again. So at 2% and 7%, totally fine going right back to Powell at that ownership.
Yeah, 7 straight games that Powell's made at least three threes, which is obviously what you want from him. Taking a ton of shots, and when he misses, he continues to take a ton of shots. So just love that. I mean, when you got a high usage player, they're going to be scoring dependent, but the volume's there for him. And like I said, Harden's kind of deferring. So I like Powell. I'm right there with you. But let's take a quick look at chat, see what kind of questions you guys have coming in now. Jose, yeah, I may have pulled this up already, but no real center. We think Zubac eats. I'm right there with you. Rob G, how many minutes for Joval? 20. I know some of this is redundant. I've already brought these up. Unicorn saying Thomas is due. Allen stunk last game. Both facts. Defenses have been keying in on Thomas more. Jordy Fernandez, the Nets coach, is really putting an emphasis on him kind of facilitating and getting his assist numbers up. But he's still going to spike those huge games, which is why we want to play him in DFS. Allen couldn't keep up with Brooklyn. He'll have the same issue tonight with Chicago. I mean, yes and no. Finney Smith and Claxton are actually pretty good defenders. I don't know that we could say the same for Vooch. I don't know. I think he has a decent chance to bounce back here, but we'll see. And then, yeah, Ty Jerome shooting 58% from beyond the arc. Definitely not something you can count on. But when he's playing 20 minutes a night, I mean, at his price, he's fine. Landon, another Team Zoo, breaks the slate tonight. Top value point guard plays. I could sort this real quick. And if you do have access to the model, very easy. You just sort by value for either site, select the position. Um, and yeah, let me pull your comment off the screen, Colin. But thanks again, guys. Definitely appreciate the questions. Help keep the show going. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us keep getting this free content out to you. But yeah, sorting by DK value. We're about to talk about this uh, OKC team. I think it makes some sense. Case and Wallace, top value on DK. On FanDuel, we're seeing Castle up there. Not sure I agree with that entirely, but he's going to see an expanded role for a little bit. But yeah, we really got to get into OKC here. Lots to talk about with Chet out of the lineup. So pulling up their official injury report. No Isaiah Hartenstein still, no Chet Holmgren, no Jalen Williams. So three of the four guys I have on the injury report, Nikola Topic is the other one. Um, they're all centers. So the front court here is extremely thin. So we pull up OKC, and Chet's seen a ton of usage this year. So that's going to create opportunity for a lot of these secondary plays. And some of these secondary guys have actually been pretty solid lately anyway. Shea, for whatever reason, I mean, his usage is down a little bit this year. I don't know if it's just something to start the season where he's kind of deferring, trying to get more of these other guys involved or what it is, but they're winning games, so you really can't argue with it. But what's that done? It's kind of created some big ceiling games for guys like Aaron Wiggins. Isaiah Joe at his price does seem to have some upside. Tonight we are projecting Case and Wallace to probably start at shooting guard. I think he will. Wouldn't be shocked if it was Isaiah Joe, but I think they prefer Joe coming off the bench. So we probably see Dort at the 3, Wiggins at the 4. Tricky spot here, man. Obviously with Chet out, there's a lot to like, but at the same time, um, I don't know. It's like these guys are almost clones of each other. We got Dort, we got Wiggins, we got Wallace, we got Joe. I mean, you could even throw Caruso's name in there. They're all probably too cheap for what they're capable of, but you can put their names in a hat, pick 2 out, and you probably land on the 2 that have a good game because I don't think all 5 of these guys are going to hit value here. So yeah, I think we like SGA and Jalen Williams. That kind of goes without saying. But for this other group of like Dort, Wallace, Wiggins, Joe, even Caruso, like where's your head at on OKC? Because I think hitting the right value for this team could be kind of the key to things tonight.
Yeah, so OKC definitely interesting here. Obviously, I don't think we've seen OKC without Shet this year, so definitely going to be interesting here. I think for let's start with value here. I do lean, the starters here, whoever starts. So whether it's Kaysen or Isaiah Joe, I probably would lean whoever starts there. And then Aaron Wiggins is still fine. I said this on the Discord stream last night. I just didn't love Wiggins at his ownership. His minutes have been very volatile. Obviously, maybe without Chet, that may change, but he's still definitely, GPP, more GPP than I think people think he is. And then my favorite value for them is clearly Lou Dort here. I just think they're going to need him on the court just for defensive purposes. So he probably just plays minutes. So I think he's a safe play in that regard. And then you mentioned it. I think SGA and J-Dub, Jalen Williams, both look really, really good here. And I like both of them a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I do think I like Dort the most from that group, but I will say in the same breath that he obviously has a low floor. Like we've seen it from him at times where he just doesn't get involved on offense. He just keys in on the other team's top scorer, and that's his game. But yeah, I mean, point per dollar, I trust his minutes more than I do Wallace, Wiggins, or Joe, and Caruso. So it's Dort for me, number one. Wallace, assuming he starts, but I think I want to have almost as much Isaiah Joe as I do Case and Wallace. Um, at the same time, I mean, no one's really playing either of them, so I don't think you could really go wrong. I don't think I'd want them in the same lineup, but definitely mixing in Joe and Kaysen. I like Wiggins as a player, but up to 5K now on FanDuel just feels insane. 4K on DK, a little bit more manageable, excuse me. But again, for 100 more, you can get the Dort. So I don't know that I necessarily need to do that. I do want to talk about Caruso a little bit. He hasn't been great in terms of DFS, but he is someone who could pretty much play defense against anyone on the floor. I think there is a world where he's brought into double team Zoo at times tonight. I know how crazy that sounds, but yeah, I think they're going to rely on him more and more with Chet out, at least until they get Hartenstein back. Obviously, he's not built like a center, but we do see him used to kind of get in the paint and muck things up for opposing centers. So to maybe see an uptick in his minutes, which have been very low, 21, we haven't projected for tonight. Something to keep an eye on. But yeah, man, I feel best about Dort, even though he has a low floor, than probably Wallace and Joe right after him. But yeah, do you think you get to any Caruso here? And I don't know. It's the minutes haven't been there, but I think he's more likely than anyone else to see a boost.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think he's fine at his ownership. I probably won't get too much, but I do agree with you. We saw that with Jokic as well when Jokic was going off against them. They did bring in Caruso at the end of the game, so um, yeah. So I think he's fine at 6%. I'll probably prefer just getting up to these other value pieces though if I can.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just to kind of present this scenario, I don't think it's likely. Kenrich Williams, he is in the model. We have him for 13 minutes. If OKC decides to go small ball without starting Jalen Williams, I think Kenrich Williams has a good chance to slide into the starting lineup. I would say this, just proceed with caution. I still don't know that you want to play him all that aggressively. I mean, we've seen him start and not be great in the past, but obviously if he starts, those minutes are going to come up. Maybe he does something, but we see the OF index in 10 minutes, a 0.8. I mean, this isn't how it works, but if he doubles his minutes, he's still 1.6. He's still the worst player on the team. So don't be alarmed if Kenrich Williams is starting. Wouldn't be shocked. Again, his conditioning's fine. He's been down with the G League. He could play as many minutes as they need him to. But again, I think it's Caruso more than anything. But all that being said, probably just stick with the starters, mix in Isaiah Joe if it's Wallace over him. But definitely going to be interesting there until they get Chet back, which is unfortunate. They've been outstanding in the West. But yeah, Hartenstein coming back soon will definitely help ease that a little bit.
They couldn't even give Kenrich one on the OF index. The model said, nah, he's not even getting 1.8.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I've seen anyone else that low. So yeah, staying on OKC. Someone asking about Dylan Jones. Not for me. I mean, if you're playing Showdown or something, he's like 200. I guess you could mix him in. Played 14 minutes last game, 11 the game before it. Um, he is a pretty big guy, but I don't think he's really there as a defensive body. Um, so I don't know. I have no real interest in Jones. Do you? I guess it would be Jang, if anyone, other than Kenrich. But again, I don't really have much interest in either of these guys.
Yeah, they're both picking up. Well, I guess Jones is picking up 2%, Jang 0. It just seems too slim for me. Or well, like you said earlier, too cute for me.
Yeah, too cute. We'll talk about Houston in just a minute. Reed Shepard, obviously a name I think a lot of people want to play. Talented kid, but we'll break that down in just a second. Could you play SGA and J-Dub in the same lineup? Yes, you could. On a 5-game slate, I mean, if that game is the highest scoring or it goes off, I mean, you could have the two studs from there. And the prices have come down. It's not like you're paying 11K for SGA anymore, and J-Dub's still floating around 8, so it's fine. Colin's saying Jose thinks it's Amen Thompson. It is going to be Amen Thompson, I think, that starts, but we still got to talk about Reed, and we will. And then, yeah, continuing on with some of this late game stuff. We'll get to all this stuff as we go through, guys. Herder looks tremendous on FanDuel with Monk out. Power, shout out with the news here that Dorian Finney-Smith is out. So feel even better about Claxton and Ben Simmons now. And then what about Ellis off a pivot of Herder? I do not like Keon Ellis. I won't be playing any. You a Keon Ellis guy?
No, I mean, never really at all.
Yeah, man. And it used to be the same with Davion Mitchell when he was with Sacramento. Now that he's out of there, he's kind of playing well. So maybe Keon has a future, but right now, just not a guy I'm interested in. And then do you think these teams treat these back-to-back games different with the in-season games coming up? I mean, they want everyone to be healthy. At the same time, I mean, if a guy's 80% this early in the season, they're not forcing them to go and play. So, yeah, I don't think you should look too deep into the play-in coming up. But I think every team's played at least one back-to-back now, so we can kind of see what they're doing, how they're handling minutes. So just look at what they've been doing in back-to-backs more than looking ahead to what's coming up. And then, yeah, Keegan Murray. Plenty to talk about with the Kings. We'll get there in a minute. But, yeah, definitely fine in tournaments. So, yeah, which game do we have next year? We got the Kings and the Spurs. So we could start with that Keegan Murray question. Kings, Malik Monk is out. And obviously that's significant. Comes off the bench. Plays a lot of minutes, though. when he's on the floor, does see a ton of usage, which explains why Kevin Huerter is going to be one of the more popular plays on the slate tonight. So even with Monk in, Herter's been starting, but the minutes are more secure. They're going to need his scoring more with that second unit. We have him at 31 minutes. And yeah, compared to what Herter was doing earlier in his career, he's a bit less scoring dependent nowadays. Does crash the boards, play some defense, can even get an assist time to time. So I like Herter here. I think he's fine, albeit as chalk. Keegan Murray, again, a little bit pricey for what he does if we're talking about night to night, but the ceilings we get out of him more than justify that price point, so I'm fine getting there. Sabonis Fox looks fine. Model really doesn't seem to like DeRozan today, but sub 8K on both sides, I'm fine getting to him. So yeah, I mean the Kings look good here, mostly just the starters though. I will say I am pretty bullish on Herter, one of my favorite value plays. I feel pretty good about him. I like DeRozan more than the model, and I think I like Fox and Sabonis a little less than the model. But where are you at on the Kings today?
Yeah, pretty much right there with you. Kevin Herter, I think it's probably the one of the more safer value plays on the slate today. I just much prefer him to these chalk OKC guys. I just think he is a safer floor with
Yep.
no Monk here and should get the minutes. So yeah, definitely like Herter for value. And then yeah, you mentioned it, Sabonis and Fox. They're both fine, man. It's a good matchup for both of them. I guess Sabonis has to go up against Wemby, so tougher spot there, but both are fine to get to in tournaments. I do prefer getting to the OKC studs and the Houston studs, obviously, but if you want to take a stab at either one, I don't think you're crazy for it. So, yeah, that's kind of my take there. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much with you. But like I said, I think DeRozan of the big three is actually who I'm most interested in. And he had kind of a bad game against the Clippers. But other than that, I mean, again, just a guy sub 8K who's been consistently floating around 40 fantasy points. So um, I'm happy to get to him. I mean, taking a lot of usage from both Fox and Sabonis obviously demands more usage than who they have in their Barnes last year at the wings. So really, really do like him. Speaking of Harrison Barnes, this could be the Harrison Barnes revenge game tonight, right? Probably not. Don't take that too seriously. But yeah, we have Harrison Ingram out, Trey Jones out, no Jeremy Sochan still. Malachi Branham is questionable. They did just get Devin Vassell back though. He's coming off the bench. A little bit pricey. We have him for just 24 minutes. Wemby though, I mean, he's been playing pretty solid. The thing with him is the minutes can be inconsistent at times. I don't think Pop's still in the hospital, right? Or they
I,
still have the interim coach there, I think.
yeah, I think he's still out of it. I think it's still
Yeah,
replacement.
so I think the interim coach is a bit longer of a leash on Wemby. It's like if Wemby makes two bad plays in a game, Pop will just bench him for a half, which is obviously obnoxious when you're paying that much for someone. But I think his floor is a little higher until we do see Popovich back. I'm fine with Keldon Johnson. Never someone I'm super aggressive in getting to just because he does come off the bench. But back to back games, over 30 minutes, obviously a good sign. Vassell, we already talked about. But yeah, really no ownership going to the Spurs. I think earlier in the day, before we had some of this other value, Stephon Castle was getting some love. He had been terrible until this weekend, and he had two awesome games back to back against the Blazers and the Jazz. I do think Vassell, as his minutes climb, are going to cut into Castle a little bit. Probably cuts into Julian Champagne more, though. And both those guys are going to be starting over both Johnson and Castle. So just keep an eye on that. I don't think we see the lineup change. But yeah, I'm fine going to Castle at low ownership. If Branham's out, if Branham's back, I think that could cut into his minutes directly. But how do you feel about these Spurs? I mean, we got to like to mix in a little bit of Wemby, obviously. But other than that, is there anything you like here?
Yeah, so I think you already mentioned it. The top play is definitely Wemby. He's still fine. I played him 2 games ago when he had that floor game, and then he had obviously had that huge game last
Yeah.
game. I think he's fine, man. Sabonis isn't necessarily a great defender, so um, totally fine. I think he probably puts up an average game here. So I think he's in play as a spend up, and then the rest of the Spurs, man. It's tough to get to anyone here. Just looking at the model, yeah, Castle 3%. I think he's finally priced correctly at sub 5K. I think you can take stabs there though, and yeah, the rest of these guys, Keldon, Chris Paul, like you mentioned already, the minutes are so volatile with these guys. It's just really tough to say any of these guys are must on the slate.
Yeah, man, I pretty much agree. I'll have some Wemby, and I do just want to emphasize the Castle play a little bit more. I do think he's good value where he's priced. Again, if Branham's out, if Branham's in, it gets a little bit dicier. But sorting by DK value, um, I mean, we got all of this chalk with Houston, OKC, obviously Herter. I mean, we do see Castle kind of popping towards the top, or at least he's on the first page, which is good enough for me. I'll mix him in. Again, not a priority though. One last game here, then we'll take questions, guys, and do a quick build before we get off for the day. We get the Wizards and the Rockets. Starting on the Wizards side of things, sounds like Kuzma is going to be back tonight, which is going to cut into a lot of these guys' upside, if we're being honest. Sadiq Bey is still out, no Brogdon. Bud Carrington is questionable. That is significant news. But yeah, with Kuzma coming back, we have him for 28 minutes. Sounds like he's good to go. Sounds like he probably could have been playing already if the Wizards were a better team, but they just kind of taking their time with him. Sar, been pretty solid as a rookie. Koulibaly, kind of boomer bust. But yeah, man, not a good matchup for these guys, obviously, against Houston, especially in the backcourt. Going to be a tough spot for Poole, seeing a lot of Thompson and Brooks. Um, I don't know. Wizards probably, I think I gave this title to a team earlier. Was it the Bulls? Yeah, but I think the Wizards are even tougher to get to tonight.
Yeah, man. It's very tough to get to them. And it's kind of funny because obviously we're getting to a bunch of Houston, but this game should be good. It's just someone mentioned Joe Val. I think maybe you could take a stab there, but I don't know, man. It's tough to get to them tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if Carrington was out, I'd want some Kaishan George. But again, with Kuzma coming back, it's tough to know exactly what these rotations are going to look like. So I'll say maybe some George, and that's probably it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, Poole has upside. If you're playing a ton of Houston, it maybe makes sense to find a run back, but I'm pretty comfortable getting away from it. Then over on the Houston side, no Fred Van Fleet. So obviously, that is massive, massive news. Um, Steven Adams is questionable. I think he's going to play, but Jock Landell's now out. Cam Whitmore's out as well. So kind of thin on the wings here. Eamon Thompson expected to start. Eamon Thompson expected to be the highest on play on the slate. Eamon Thompson is very good chalk in my opinion. My boy Terry Eason's finally starting to see real NBA minutes. We got him for 27. He's been playing even more than that. Brooks looks pretty decent here. I know everyone hates him, myself included. But yeah, Sengun, very, very popular, obviously, as well, with no Fred Van Fleet, a guy who does do a lot of ball handling, take the ball up the court. And then Jalen Green, I think we got to bring up as well, another guy who's going to see increased usage. So Houston looks really good here. And it's mostly the starters Thompson, Jalen Green, Sengun, obviously. And I guess from there, I'm like, do I really want to play a ton of Dylan Brooks? I'm going to mix him in, but do I really want to play a ton of Jabari Smith? I think Smith's the one I'm probably getting away from. Not that he's all that popular, but he has just been playing terribly, and we haven't seen minutes out of him. So yeah, I'm having trouble getting to Jabari, but we got to talk about Reed Shepard. So this is like the name across the industry. Everyone loves this kid. They want to see what he can do. I didn't play much preseason. I'm pretty sure he had a damn good preseason, though, summer league, all that jazz. So people got him in their minds. They want to play this kid. He's dirt cheap. For me, it's like, okay, I can see getting to him at the price, but how many minutes are we comfortable projecting him for? We see 21 here. Looking at his last four games, I mean, he did get to 20 against San Antonio, really didn't do anything. He's had a usage under 15% in three of the four games we've seen him over the past week. So I don't know, man. I think he's overowned, if I'm being honest. And I hate to say it because I like the kid. I want to see the increased opportunity, but I have trouble not expecting just more minutes to go to Thompson. And Aaron Holiday isn't a play I'm interested in either, but I think he's going to soak up some of those minutes that people want to go to Reed. So yeah, man, I don't know. I love Thompson as chalk. I get Reed Shepard love. I get that he's talented, but when I'm seeing him over 20%, I'm like, this is probably chalk I need to get away from. And it doesn't feel great because I want to be bullish on the kid, but I don't know that this is the spot necessarily.
Yeah, so just starting out, my top three clear cut plays, definitely Amen number one. I think he looks awesome here. Obviously, no Fred Van Vliet. Going to be probably a guy I have close to 100% of my builds. I just think he looks really good. And then Tari as well, man. Obviously, you mentioned it. No Cam Whitmore. His minutes should be secure. He's a very good producer. So love him. So those two I think are just easy clicks there. And then
Right.
obviously Sengun, I love him as well. And then Shepard, I think you had some good calls there. I think he's still a really good play at 3K. He doesn't need to do much, and he's a good producer. So my kind of stand on him is I'll probably be, you know, kind of around the field. I kind of want to have a little bit more than the field. I just think at 3K with his upside as a player, I think he can put up a pretty decent score here at that price. So I think he's a solid play. Might be a little bit overowned for sure, but he has upside, man. So that's kind of my take there.
Yeah, and like it's just a tough conversation to have because like I don't want to sound like I'm down on him as a player. I'm just not confident in Ime giving him the minutes that maybe a lot of the industry is expecting him to get here. Like it's logical, like he's a point guard. Fred VanVleet's out, but I mean Thompson's going to take up most of those minutes, and then from there, I mean there are other guys in this rotation that we're going to see get a little bit of extra run. So I like him, and the talent's there. I'm just like at 20%. I think there's other value we can get to, but again, it's like the new shiny toy. Like everyone wants to be on him, and when he goes off, it's going to be awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, this might be a spot I can get a little bit different. Um, Talented kid though, and like I don't want to sit here and talk people off him. I just know for me personally, looking at that ownership, I'm pretty comfortable coming in under. Um, but yeah, let's see what else we got going here. Top five OF index. Good question. Been a while since I refreshed the data. I'll do a quick refresh. And we're going a little bit over today, guys. About to wrap up once we do this build. Brian's on for NFL at 7. I don't know if he's with Moose or someone else, but definitely want to give those guys their time to help you with that showdown slate. But yeah, in terms of OF index, no major surprise here. We got SGA at the top, Wemby, Sabonis, Jalen, Mobley, Sengun, Ingram, Donovan, et cetera, et cetera. Personally, I like Jalen Williams a lot. I'd have him even higher just in my head in terms of upside. Helped me win a tournament last week where he almost had a triple double against Denver with Chet in the lineup. So I'm certainly biased there. But anything standing out to you about like the top 10 or 5? Anyone you think maybe should be higher or lower?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it, J Dub definitely worthy of great play here. Probably the best point per dollar play besides the value guys for OKC. And then I'm trying to pick out like a maybe I think Sengun he's still projected really high. He might be even a little bit too low. I think he should probably be above Mobley, maybe between J Dub and Sengun. But I think, all those guys, make sense up top.
Yeah, it's really tough to argue with any of that. It's just Ime Udoka is really tough to kind of I don't know, get a read on. Guy does whatever he wants on the court and off the court. Murphy will play 20 per Willie Green. Good to see. Calling this Alvarado a core lock. I mean, he's pretty damn close. I think on DK he is 6,700 on FanDuel. There are a few pivots in that range. You can find 200 more to get to maybe Schroeder. I love him though. He's damn good, and you get the extra points for steals. Just firing through these questions because we're already over. Garland Alvarado or Fox and Amon. I think you want Amon tonight. So like I like Garland and Alvarado point per dollar more than I like Fox, but I think Amon's the play. I don't think you want to get away from him. So
I'm
yeah,
going to answer
that's
that
that.
question. Alvarado and Amen, and not Fox and Garland.
Yeah, and then upgrade that other spot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find something else. And then yeah, Casey, just go with Amon and go with Alvarado and upgrade
Yeah.
something. Dylan Brooks hate train ready to get on board. Choo choo, Chris. It's a very long train. And is this a game that Jabari Smith could steal the show? I mean, my personal read has always been that Eason's underrated. Smith's a really talented player, but as Eason's got more minutes, I mean, he's done much more with them. I think he's slowly kind of taking over more and more of those Smith minutes. I can see the Rockets trading Jabari Smith soon. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. Colin loves Eason. Jiang, OKC, he could get you 5 fantasy points. He could get you 20 at that price, Unicorn. I think you're fine to mix him in. Just don't have your night hinge on him unless he's starting. Don't think he will. Levert and Sengun or SGA and Shepard. Definitely Levert and Sengun for me.
Ooh, that one's tougher for me. I feel like I might have to go. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna go SGA Shepard. I'm gonna go opposite of you. I think Shepard's really good.
Okay. So, yeah, we're on both sides of that, Colin. I don't know if that helps much. I will say Shepard, he's the widest range of outcomes, obviously, of that group. Levert's been pretty consistent. So, one more question, and then, guys, we got to get to the build here. What 4 value plays do you like for DraftKings for single entry large field tournaments? So, my philosophy, Mr. Don, is always play the chalk value, get different with your pay-ups, because if chalk value misses, unless it's something you really don't like, then you're fine. So I think tonight it's definitely Eamon Thompson, Tari Eason. Um, I don't know if you can call Alvarado value at 6,200, but I have him in there, and then probably Dort. I know Reed Shepard is. We're seeing that ownership climb. He's up to almost 30% now on DK. Man, I'm more on FanDuel tonight. I'm kind of glad. I'll have Reed probably half the field, but he's probably another one you can mix in. And then did Jalen Wilson just become a thing with Finney Smith out? I don't know, man. I'm a diehard Nets fan. I know Jordy Fernandez pretty well already, and he doesn't love Wilson the way that a lot of fans do. Wilson's a tremendous player offensively, but on the defensive end, he's kind of a speed bump at times, not much better than that. They're getting better minutes out of Zaire Williams. Zaire hasn't been shooting the ball well, but we're seeing him play minutes consistently night to night. And with Simmons back in the lineup, Claxton playing now more minutes, I don't know that I'd be getting to Jalen. Also, Keon Johnson's been playing even more minutes than I think many expected because he's been playing pretty good defense. Nets have a pretty deep rotation, even though their bench is pretty bad. So as much as we like Jalen for his scoring, like that's not something the Nets need right now. They need more defense. So he's been suffering for that reason. So if he starts, fine. I haven't seen the starting lineup yet. But just proceed with some caution. Jordy definitely has a short leash on him. But let's get into this build here, man.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate all the questions, guys. But yeah, I think we got to start with some of this Houston, and I know we're kind of torn on Shep, so we could make that decision in a minute. But let's start with Eason, and let's get Thompson in there, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And okay, and then I think we both want Alvarado for sure.
Yeah. Love. And the thing is, I was going to mention this earlier. I kind of forgot. With Alvarado and Boston, so Murphy cuts into Boston, and Alvarado is not really affected because his minutes are coming from what's his face, Hawkins being out. So his minutes are way more safe, in my opinion, than Boston. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I definitely trust Alvarado
Yeah.
way more than Boston. You can mix in Boston, but again, wide range of outcomes for him. Okay, so this is a pretty good start. I mean, we could talk about pay ups now. We could pretty much afford whatever we want and work from there. Um, I don't know. I do like Ingram.
We got
He's
to
not
get
even
J Dub.
really.
J Dub, we
What's
bought
that?
back, right? Jalen Williams.
Oh, hell yeah.
We got to get J Dub in there, right?
Yeah, let's get him in there. Then you want to go Sengun, make it easy.
Yeah, and then we need to get some different somewhere because we're building like the chocolate.
I mean, this is chalk. This is a hell
Yeah,
of a core, though.
this
Like,
is a
we're
good
gonna
core though.
play
Yeah.
tonight. All right, let's get weird with this guard here. I mean, Norm Powell's kind of low owns. Eh.
You know who I wanted to mention that no one really we called him out earlier, but I think Nick Claxton's very sneaky tonight.
Let's do
Everyone's
it.
going to look at Jalen Wilson, but I think Claxton maybe for double center builds should pick up some more minutes here. So like Claxton in tournaments.
Love it. And he's underpriced, man. I mean, we've seen Claxton up to 8K at times on DK when he's playing well. So, not going to be producing like an 8K player quite yet until he's playing 35 plus minutes a night, but he's somewhere in between and he's not priced like it. Okay, so we got 6,300 left for two positions. We got a low on Claxton in there now, which I really like. Um, I don't know, guard forward value that we think is sneaky. Maybe one of the OKC guys or. Oh, Herder.
Yeah, I like Herder. We could go Shepard. I know you don't like him as much. Let's go Herder though. I think we both like
Let's
Herder.
go Herder. And I don't want it to sound like I don't like Shepard. I like him. I just don't
Yeah,
trust Email to give him the minutes that everyone wants him to. And then we're landing on Donovan Mitchell as the last piece, and it's pretty
that's
damn
fine.
good
Yeah.
here, in my honest opinion. Any last words, Jayhawk? I know you are in the Discord from 7:30 till 8 tonight, right?
Yes, sir. I'll be in Discord, kind of just running through any last minute news per usual and helping out you guys' questions. So yeah, make sure to pop in there.
Yep, and we're right as we sign off. I'll take this last question. Who's going to start at center for OKC? My guess is that it's Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams. Even though he's a 4, they could just play small with him. Or it could be Caruso or Kenrich Williams. So to answer your question, we don't know yet. I think no matter what, unless it's Jalen Williams, you don't really want to play that guy though. But take care, everyone. Have a great night. Let's make all the money. Hope to see a bunch of screenshots. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, take care.
See you guys. Good luck.